Hey, this is your host from Life Noggin, and today we're answering the question, did an asteroid really kill the dinosaurs? To answer this question, we have to go back about 66 million years. Okay, so very long time ago, during the late Cretaceous period, Earth was experiencing a mass extinction. Perhaps you've heard of it, with the asteroids and the non-avian dinosaurs going extinct, and like 75% of all species disappearing in a relatively short amount of geologic time. But scientists have been debating whether or not the asteroid impact was actually the cause of the mass extinction, or if there were other factors at play. So let's get to the bottom of this. First off, let's talk about the asteroid itself. The idea that an asteroid killed the dinosaurs came about in the early 1980s, when scientists discovered a giant crater in the Yucatán Peninsula in Mexico. They named it the Chicxulub crater, and because it's around 180 kilometers wide and 30 kilometers deep, they estimated that something pretty big had hit Earth right around the time the dinosaurs died out. Scientists estimate that the asteroid that made the crater was about 10 kilometers wide, and for reference, that's about twice the size of Mount Rushmore. The leading theory for why the dinosaurs went extinct is called the impact theory. It states that when the asteroid hit Earth, it caused a bunch of wild stuff to happen. For starters, it would have left a massive new crater on Earth's surface. And while we have that crater, scientists don't think it was super pretty. Instead of being this perfectly round hole in the ground, it's more likely that the asteroid broke through a bunch of rock, then ricocheted off the bedrock below before finally coming to rest. Over time, it would have been filled with water and become the Bay of Campeche, a large inland body of water on the western coast of Mexico. Scientists say that it may still be possible to find microfossils in the layers of sediment above the crater that could help confirm this theory. Of course, the impact itself would have been pretty devastating. In addition to the initial shock wave, which would have rattled windows in South Padre Island, Texas, over 2,400 kilometers away, the asteroid would have completely vaporized everything on the surface beneath it. After that, the dust and debris from the impact would have blocked out the sun, plunging Earth into darkness. It also would have started a chain reaction of events that led to massive climate change. When the asteroid first hit the planet, the heat from the impact would have warmed the atmosphere and oceans by several degrees. Then, after the dust and debris blocked the sun, temperatures would have dropped as much as 20 to 30 degrees. This sudden cooling, combined with increased acidity in the oceans, would have disrupted ecosystems all over the world. What little sunlight did make it through the clouds would have been unable to penetrate the water, which would have affected the balance of light and dark in our planet's oceans. It also would have devastated the phytoplankton population, which are microscopic plants that live in the upper layers of the ocean and form the basis of the marine food chain. And the acidic oceans would have caused shells and skeletons of marine organisms to begin dissolving. All of these changes would have triggered a mass extinction. And while they would have been devastating to life on Earth, scientists don't think they would have been enough to wipe out every living thing. So where do the fossils come in? According to the fossil record, most dinosaur species went extinct about 20 million years before the asteroid hit. This is one argument against the impact theory. If the asteroid was the sole cause of the extinction, we should see a sharp drop-off in the fossil record at the time of the impact. But we don't. In 1996, researchers found a fossil site in Montana that contained fossils of animals that lived right around the time of the asteroid impact. And some of those fossils belonged to dinosaurs and others to mammals. But most of them belonged to a group of animals called mosasaurs. Mosasaurs were large marine reptiles that lived in the late Cretaceous. And since they weren't dinosaurs, you might be wondering what they're doing fossilized in Montana. See, mosasaurs gave birth to live young, meaning they didn't lay eggs like other reptiles, so they probably would not have been around after the asteroid hit because their reproductive strategy required warm ocean temperatures. The fossils showed that there was a drastic decline in biodiversity right at the time of the impact, but there wasn't a total mass extinction. In fact, some species seemed to flourish after the asteroid hit. Not only did the mosasaurs continue to thrive, but their predators, sharks, seemed to benefit from the mass extinction as well. This suggests that the asteroid didn't kill off everything, but instead changed the environment and opened up new ecological opportunities. And the evidence doesn't stop there. There have been discoveries of fossils from just after the mass extinction that show even more dramatic changes. In 2005, researchers uncovered the fossil of a mosasaur that was about 130,000 years old. It lived in what is now North Dakota. and its stomach contained the fossilized remains of fish that had bony armor. These fish belonged to a group of animals called ray-finned fishes, and they evolved right after the mass extinction. Prior to this discovery, scientists thought that the mosasaurs were the ones who benefited from the mass extinction. But with the discovery of these fossilized fish, it became clear that the mosasaurs were actually preying on creatures that had evolved in response to the environmental conditions caused by the asteroid impact. But wait, there's more. Fossils in Peru tell a similar story. In 2010, scientists found fossils of land snails from just after the mass extinction. Snails that lived before the mass extinction had smooth shells, but the shells of the surviving snails were more robust with thickened walls. This suggested that the mass extinction caused major environmental changes, which in turn sparked rapid evolution in snail populations. But not everyone is convinced. Some scientists argue that there were multiple extinctions during the late Cretaceous, and the asteroid just happened to fall during one of them. While it did cause major ecological shifts, it wasn't responsible for the beginning of the mass extinction. And that brings us to the chemistry. You see, rocks and minerals can reveal chemical clues about what happened to them over time. And the asteroid impact was no exception. In 2021, scientists conducted what's called an ion probe analysis on a rock from the Chicxulub crater. This technique allows scientists to look at the distribution of different elements in a sample, and they found that the rock experienced a temperature increase around the same time the asteroid struck. But the temperature increase didn't last very long, suggesting that the rock's exposure to high temperatures was short-lived. But that doesn't align with the impact theory, because if the asteroid actually hit Earth, the rock should have experienced much higher temperatures for a much longer period of time. However, the research team hypothesized that the rock's brief exposure to high temperatures may have resulted from a series of smaller impacts that occurred before the main event. Perhaps chunks of the asteroid fragmented and rained down on Earth for months or even years before the final impact. Or maybe the asteroid passed close enough to Earth that its gravitational pull caused tsunamis and earthquakes, triggering smaller collisions. Either way, the asteroid's effects were not limited to the area immediately surrounding the crater. Shocks from the impact were felt as far away as Antarctica, and recent studies suggest that the waves generated by the impact may have reached heights of over 100 meters. These findings have led some scientists to believe that while the asteroid was certainly a significant factor, it wasn't solely responsible for the extinction. So did an asteroid kill the dinosaurs? Well, it depends on who you ask. There's lots of evidence that the asteroid impact was a major factor in the mass extinction. But whether it was the only cause remains to be seen. Thanks to scientific discoveries, our understanding of the asteroid impact and its effects are constantly changing and evolving. And while we may never know exactly what caused the mass extinction thanks to fossils, we can see how life on Earth responded to the asteroid impact and paved the way for new species to thrive. So what do you think? Do you think the asteroid killed the dinosaurs? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, it's me. This has been Life Noggin. Don't forget to keep on thinking.